Welcome to the Built to Win podcast, a show about entrepreneurs, their journeys, their processes, and how they turn their dreams into a reality. Today, we have former president of Starbucks North America and the founding president of Starbucks International, and also one of the people that I look up to as a leader, Mr. Howard Behar. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Howard, I wanted to really start like I usually do with everyone about how the journey really began, where everything started. I know because I have researched and listened to you on Ed Millett's show, but I would love for the people that listen here on Built to Win to know a little bit about you.
Well, I'm the son of two immigrants. My father was actually born in 1895. Came to Seattle as a 15-year-old, left all his family behind in Bulgaria, except for a brother that he had in Vancouver, British Columbia. And he worked in the Pike Place market, pushing a cart. And when he turned about 23 or 24, he opened a small mom and pop grocery store in the north end of Seattle. And that's where my life started. I was the baby of three children. My sister was 14 years older, my brother 10 years older, and my dad and my mom ran this little small mom and pop grocery store.
Yes, sir.
I'd go there every day after school and I'd learn life lessons, and it's where I learned retail because my dad and my mom were doing it every day.
Yeah. So I would assume as you guys were actually doing the work, you learned the value of hard work.
I watched my dad get up every morning at 4 o'clock, go down to produce row, come back to the store, clean the vegetables and the fruit, put them out, open the store at 8 o'clock, close the store at 6 o'clock, come home, eat his dinner in about 11 seconds, sit down in his chair and go to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, he worked hard every day, I can't 4 o'clock every morning, and coming home, he was exhausted by the time he got home,
Yes, sir.
So you learn how to, you watch your parents work hard and they survived the Depression, and you learn what that means. And I did.
Recording in progress.
Yes, sir. So let me ask you this as well. One of the things that when I listened to the show with Ed, we talk about servant leadership. One of the things that I saw and I heard from you was how you saw your father really take a caring to the community that he was serving. Can you expound a little bit on that?
Sure. Well, in those days, it was a neighborhood small mom and pop grocery store. Every customer had a charge account. And there's little booklets, and my dad would staple when they'd come in. There was a little ticket that went on whatever they bought, and once a month he'd bill them. Well, one day I was standing up by the grocery store, out by the counter, and my dad was ringing up a customer. This is before electronic cash registers, a hand crank. You'd pull the crank, it'd go bing. And so my dad said, "Howard, go get me a couple of baskets of strawberries." So I went in the back and I got a couple of baskets of strawberries. My dad put them in the customer's bag. Customer walked out of the store. Well, I was old enough to recognize him. My dad hadn't rung those up on the cash register. And I said, "Dad, you forgot to ring those up." And he said, "Howard, not everything we do in life do we need to get paid for. Sometimes we do it because it's just the right thing to do. And these aren't just our customers, they're our neighbors and our friends. And I happen to know they're struggling right now and they can't afford fresh fruit. And it's just my way of helping them out." Well, and that, 9 years old, I mean, you hear that and it goes in, but it doesn't make all that much sense. But over time, as I thought about that story and that experience, it made more and more sense. In life, we get caught up in what we get versus what we give. And the key to I think a fulfilling life is to focus on what you give, not what you get. And that was what my dad did. I mean, these weren't just our customers. They were our neighbors. They were our friends. We cared about each other and we helped each other.
Yes, sir. So one of the things you just said right there, I think really resonates with me. I live in LA, but I was born and raised in Indiana. And you don't know how much your upbringing has affected you until you have lived some life. So being in LA, which I love it here, but family from the South, we were taught to really value people, really value relationships. Not with anything like you're trying to get anything from people, but to just value people. I still laugh. Like when we go down to visit my dad in Marianna, Arkansas, people drive down the street and they blow the horn and they wave. And it's just a normal thing. And so when I moved out here, I just kept speaking to everyone. And someone said to me once, like laughing, one of my buddies from New York, oh, this girl says you're so weird. I was like, what did I do? Well, she says you speak to everyone. and those are the things that I think as I just listen to you and learn from you is not to be ashamed of being a human, first and foremost.
Absolutely. I mean, we're put on this earth to serve others. I don't care what your role is in life, what job you have, a widget maker, a barista, a doctor, a lawyer, a podcast, doesn't make any difference what you do. It's always about serving another human being in some way or another. And it's critical that we understand how that happens in our lives, because we want to live our lives not just to live them, but to have a fulfilling life. And being of service helps that along. I laugh when you say everybody honks down the street. In LA, they honk too, but they're honking to tell you to get out.
They're honking because they're in a rush to get to the next red light.
Yeah.
So one of the things also that I was thinking about is, as you were starting, or actually no, we'll go from there. You were 9, you're at the grocery store with your dad. I don't want to fast forward because there's a lot of good stuff here. Where did you end up going? What happens from the grocery store?
Well, my dad retired by the time I was about 12 years old. He was 50 when I was born. And so my brother and my brother-in-law both had furniture stores. And I would go when I was 13 and work in those furniture stores. I dust furniture. That's what I did, and clean the store. So I really started pretty much working, not full-time, but pretty much almost full-time when I was 13. And so I really got, because I was in retail, furniture and groceries, they sound that they're all different, but that they're still serving others and providing others with product or service. So I spent 25 years in the home furnishing industry. I worked for my family for a while. And then I went to work for a furniture store in Salem, Oregon, at my first management job when I was 21. And then I ended up working for a company called Grand Tree Furniture Rental, and I worked for Federated Department Stores, all home furnishings. And then in one of the companies I was at, my boss, the CEO, left to go work in a land development company, and he asked a couple of us to go with him, and we did. And I learned about that, and the company got in trouble. We had to sell it, and now I'm in my early 40s, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So the only thing I thought about was going backwards. So my dad had a small mom and pop grocery store. What could I do in a small business way? So I started looking for things, and along the way, I met this young guy named Howard Schultz. He was looking for a VP of operations for Starbucks. Starbucks at that time had when I first met him, it had about 15 stores.
Yes, sir.
And he was looking for a VP of operations, and we sat and had breakfast, and he had a list of about 10 criteria. First one on the list was wanted somebody with a college degree. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Second thing on the list, he wanted somebody with food service experience. I didn't have that. Finally, we get down to number 10. Can I breathe? Yes, I could breathe. But that was the only thing on the list that I almost qualified for. So we shook hands and parted ways. A year passed, and by accident, I through another gentleman that knew Howard, I met Howard again, and Howard still hadn't filled that job of VP of operations. Yeah. Now they have 28 stores. And so he said, we started talking. I said, Howard, before either one of us makes a decision, can I work in the company for a week? I'd like to do it for free. So it goes back to give before you get, and
exactly.
So I did. I worked in the trucks for a couple of days, worked in the stores for a few days, and the roasting plant for a few days. By the end of that week, I had fallen in love. And fortunately, he extended an invitation, and it goes back to that adage. Not everything you do in life you need to be paid for or recognized for. Sometimes you just do things because it's the right thing to do. And at that point in time, I thought this is the right thing to do. It gives me an opportunity to take a look at Starbucks. It gives him an opportunity to take a look at me. And then, I turned right instead of turning left, instead of buying a business, and I'm going to work with Howard.
Yeah, I love it. You kind of aligned with
Yeah.
where you guys wanted to be. So a lot of the things that Starbucks has done and is doing are things that I would assume a lot of larger business, even smaller businesses, want to figure out how to copy. So it's the internal culture of the people and how they care about Starbucks. You look at Starbucks from the outside, you're like, it's just a coffee shop. It's a coffee shop everywhere. So why are these people so jazzed about working here? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the key in life and is servant leadership. Here's how servant leadership works. You know, you help your people grow as human beings first. You help them grow as professionals, and then you help them achieve their goals in life. What is it they want out of their life? And when you do that, then they want to help you.
Yeah,
And that's the equation. You serve before you are served.
I love that.
And so that's what made a difference at Starbucks. I mean, our first guiding principle is we treat each other with respect and dignity. And we purposely didn't define it because everybody see that in a different light, and you have to adjust to where they are, not where you are, on an individual basis. Now, that's to me the key is what you do for your people and with your people and how you respect them and help them grow as human beings. And when you do that well, then they want to help you, and that's how the business is grown. You grow the people grow the organization, and the organization grows the business. And it's
Yes.
pretty much that simple.
Yeah, I love it. Those are the things, and we are as a company nowhere close to Starbucks currently, but those are the things that I believe that we're working towards. Is when we started is that if we as ownership care about our people first and foremost, our people will care about our clients, and our clients will care about the company, and that's how we will all grow.
And it doesn't work the other way.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if you don't care about your people, they don't care about their customers.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir. So we went from 15 stores to about 30 stores. Now Howard Behar and Howard Schultz, the Howard Square is together. Now, how does what do you say, exponential growth, where does that start to happen?
Well, first of all, you got to believe in what you're doing. And we didn't know what we had in those days. I mean, we were growing, we were building stores. I think the second year I was there, we built 50 stores, almost doubled our size. And but we didn't really understand the demand for the product. And by accident, we opened a store across the street from another store because we were worried about our lease in the first store. And lo and behold, we doubled the volume on the corner. Each
Oh,
store did about $1 million. When one store was doing $1 million. When that happened, we said, "Uh-oh, we're underserving the market." And so that said, we better go faster rather than slower. And so we went out, we raised a lot of money, and we hired great people, and those people built the business. And one time we built 2,500 stores in one year
wow.
and around the world. Not all in one place, obviously, but
Yes, sir.
it's really the customer. There was so much demand from the customer for what we were doing that I don't think we ever opened a store that didn't do well in those early years. Of
Hmm.
course, later on we had some mistakes we made, but but and then when we attracted great people and we treated them with respect and dignity and helped them get what they wanted out of their lives, and they wanted to do it for a Starbucks. And
Yes.
that's what they did. Now, were we perfect? No. And they're still not perfect. They make mistakes and screw up and don't always treat people with respect and dignity. Somebody might, so some leader in the company doesn't understand what it's about and gets in there. But we always had the ability to self-correct.
Yes. That right there is I think, kind of an afterthought on our journey that it's okay to not be perfect. we're all looking to be perfect and not make mistakes. But what you said, I think you get to a space once you've lived that you have to self-correct.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, none of us are perfect, right? That's why human beings aren't assets. You hear leaders say, hey, people are our most important asset. People are not assets. Assets are trucks, computers. You own assets. You don't own people. People will never give you what you expect. You don't give yourself what you expect all the time.
Yeah.
So it's learning to deal with the human things in life, and understand that people are human. They'll make mistakes. They'll do better. They'll do worse. Who knows what it is? But it's a journey.
Yes, sir. So as you kind of continued on growing the people, and as the people grow, the business grows, what were your next thoughts? Where did you go from there?
Well, by the time we had about 400 or 500 stores, um, there were three of us that were leading the company, a guy named Orrin Smith, myself, and Howard. So they called us H2O, and two Howards and an Orrin.
Yeah.
And so, Howard wanted somebody to take over some of his roles, and it wasn't a job that I wanted. I'm an operator. So I pitched the idea of taking Starbucks outside of North America.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the founding president of Starbucks International, and I prepared a business plan and presented it to the board. Unfortunately, they approved, and we opened our first market outside of North America in Japan. And the rest is history. I mean, we opened in 54 countries around the world. We have now more stores outside of North America than we have inside of North America.
Wow.
And it was an incredible experience. The opportunity for me to take on that role. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I was qualified to run Starbucks, but I wasn't necessarily qualified to run international Starbucks.
Yeah.
I had to learn. I had to grow. And fortunately, they gave me the opportunity to grow and to learn on the job, and we did really well. And we use Starbucks coffee as a bridge among people around the world.
To bring people together.
Selling cups of coffee. We wanted to use Starbucks coffee as a bridge to help people communicate better. They could go in a Starbucks store and people are sitting around there having conversations with their friends or reading a newspaper, whatever it is they're doing. It's the same way around the world. You go to Dubai, you see the same thing. You go to London, you see the same thing. Doesn't make any difference where you go, you see it.
I love it. So as you're doing that, did you see any kind of cultural changes in terms of your recruitment of leadership, in terms of your recruitment of staffing outside of the U.S. internationally?
No, we are who we are. And so, I mean, are there different cultures? Yeah, that do different things. Yes. But you know what I found? No matter where you go in the world, people are pretty much the same. Everybody wants to love and be loved. Everybody wants to be treated with respect and dignity. Everybody wants to grow as a human being. Everybody wants more for themselves and their families. And do we have different skin colors? Do we have different religions? Do we eat different food? Yes, we do. And do we have different life experiences? Yes. But pretty much, if it was Japan, we were Starbucks. And we treated our people with respect and dignity in Japan, just like we treated them with respect and dignity in Chicago, or to London, or to Dubai, or to Saudi Arabia, or to South Africa. It didn't make any difference where we were going. We were Starbucks, and our values were our values.
So let's talk about values. One of the things that you had spoken about when I found you was the P's.
Yeah.
Your
6 P's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you talk about values and your 6 P's. What are those, and what do they mean?
Well, the 6 P's are how I live my life. Everything I do in my life has to have a purpose greater than myself. It's not enough to just do it for me. I got to do it to help others, to serve others, because that's what gets me up in the morning. And if I have a purpose greater than myself, then I damn well better be passionate about it. Scream it from the highest mountaintops. You get up in the morning, you're charged, you're ready to go to do your work. Not because it's perfect every day, it's not. But you got to be passionate about what you're doing in life. And then the third P is persistence. In this river we call our lives, there are rocks. Some of the rocks are below the surface. We don't see them and we go smack into them, right? Some rocks, amazingly enough, we can see and we still hit them. some rocks, our parents tell us, hey, watch out. There are some rocks in this river and it's around that corner. And we ignore our parents' advice.
Yeah.
But all those rocks can get in our way if we don't learn how to get around them, through them, under them, over them, under them, or blow them up. Right? And
Yes,
so
sir.
persistence pays in life. If you aren't persistent, you're not going to get very far.
Mm.
It's the one thing I've learned about all entrepreneurs. They're all the same. One word describes them: persistence.
Yes.
Then the fourth P is patience. You'd think that patience is the opposite of persistence, but it's not. You have to be patiently persistent. The most important person you have to be patient with yourself is yourself, because not everything comes in the time frame you want it to come. And you also have to be patient with others, because not everybody understands where you're going all at the same time. And so you have to have patience with people too. You know, it's a journey. It's not, everything doesn't get done this exact instant. You're trying to create a life for yourself. It takes time to do that. And as we were talking about, you make mistakes and you have to adjust. So then the fifth P is performance. We don't like to be measured. None of us like to be measured, right? Fact of life. We're getting measured all the time. If you have a significant other, you're married, trust me, your wife or your significant other is measuring you. They may not give you a performance review every day, but in their minds, they're saying, God damn it, he left his socks on the floor again. Or he didn't take out the garbage or whatever. So you're getting measured. Your kids are measuring you. When you commit to be at their soccer game or basketball game or whatever it is, you better be there. You better have a darn good reason. You better let them know why you wouldn't, but you'll make sure you're there next time.
Yes, sir.
At work, when you commit to get something done at work, you're performing not only for your boss or the company, you're performing for all your coworkers, because they're depending on you that you'll work. And so performance matters in this world. When you commit to do something, means you do it, or you let people know why you're not going to get it done then. So it really makes a difference. And then the final P, people. Everything I do in my life and everything I think we all should be doing in our lives is about serving others. When you get that down and you get that right, you may get tired, but you never get bored, you never get burned out.
I love it.
On my 6 Ps.
Yes, sir. The 6 Ps are pretty solid. So we definitely need to put those in the all world encyclopedia of things that needs to happen. Question for you, as a servant leader, and I will get your definition of servant leadership later, but you as a servant leader, how do you feel that affects you being able to hold people accountable and that accountability piece?
Servant leadership at its core is about performance, just like we just talked about, right? You got to get the job done. And you hold people accountable to that. The key is how you do that. Mm-hmm. You do it with love and kindness and caring, but you still have the conversation. Yeah. And the words are, what can I do to help you achieve your goals? Yes. What is getting in your way? How can I help you? It's not, hey, you jerk, why aren't you getting the job done, right? Yeah. And so servant leadership is about that. And now, if somebody can't get the job done, if you don't, and you've talked to them and you've done everything you can to help them, right? Then sometimes you have to part ways. As Jim Collins says, sometimes people have to get off the bus. And so, but it's how you do it. You got to love them as much going out the door as you love them coming in the door.
Yes, sir.
And so when that's what really makes a difference.
Yeah. So you talked about, and I'm friends with a lot of highly educated people that are in business, as well as people like me who've gone out and started business without having the MBA and all of these other things behind their names. What I have found just personally with myself is we jump as entrepreneurs sometimes without having the plan. And that's not one of your P's, but it's a very important thing, because what I found, again, in my journey is when you don't have that plan, sometimes you forget about the people because you are stuck in the minutia trying to figure out how to get things done and done right, and trying to put expectations on people in which you have not given clear expectations. They're trying their hardest, but they don't know which way you're going. So how did you kind of navigate that of not having that history? Obviously, you had a lot of years of working with the family who ran businesses, who understood, I would assume, at some point, frameworks and leverage of people and time. How did you navigate that?
Well, first of all, I don't have a plan. I might add that, make it my seventh P, because I am a planner. I have my wife and I, since the beginning of our relationship, we've always had a 1, 3, and 5 year plan
Mm-hmm.
against all the things in our life: spirituality, material, economic well-being, our children, our family, our personal growth, our health. And we've always had goals. And I have been setting goals and achieving goals since I was in my mid 20s. And when I was before that, they were all wishes, hopes, and dreams until I wrote them down. Then they became goals and they became commitments. So that old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there.
Yes, sir.
True. We need to live our life with intention. And we need to, if we have a business that we're trying to build, we have to do that with intention. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What does it take to do it? What kind of resources do we need? What kind of people do we need? How do we develop our people? How do we do all the things to bring that about? How do we serve those human beings we call customers? Right? All of that has to be written down, because if it's not written down, it's just wishes, hopes, and dreams. When you write it down, it becomes a commitment. And so, you got to know where you're going, and you got to know what you're trying to do. We knew what we were trying to do at Starbucks, and our mission in life was to be one of the most well-known and respected organizations in the world, known for nurturing and inspiring the human spirit. Not a thing about how many stores we were going to have, but we had that plan. How many stores we were going to have. We wanted 2,000 stores by the year 2000. We went screaming by it. And so we had goals, objectives. We had goals to how much capital we were going to need, how many people we were going to need, and then we had to achieve those things.
Yes, sir. So this is amazing information. Because we serve or are built to win, we are in different communities. One of the things, my goal is to connect the world, is to bring people together, to bridge everyone, kind of similar to what Starbucks is doing, very similar to what Barron is doing with Slick, is when you bring different people from different perspectives, different walks of life, it helps people to see that we're all on the same walk, but we're just seeing it from a different point of view.
That's right. It's absolutely true.
Yes. So I think the planning it is literally probably number one. But what happened with you, because I know that you're definitely based in faith, when you start to have those doubts, when you start to have those limiting beliefs of, can I really do this? Is this realistic? What did you do?
Well, I'm a guy that believes in affirmations. So, and affirmations at work need to be seen as completed, not in the future. So I have one of my most important affirmations is I am enough, I have enough, I do enough. Mm-hmm. Another one is I love myself unconditionally. So I had affirmations about almost everything I did in my life. Where I wanted to be, I had affirmations about personal growth. I had affirmations about economic well-being, and that drove me. But I love quotes, and the reason I love them is that I learned from all of them. So one of my favorite quotes was a quote by Ray Kroc: "Turn your fear into faith."
Yes.
And I have never forgot that quote, because we all have fears, every one of us, and it's figuring out how to turn those into faith that you can. There's another one that I like is that think like a person of action, act like a person of thought.
I love that.
Yeah, important one. Another one is that when you're in a hole, quit digging. That's a famous old one, right? But the problem with most of us, we get in a hole and we're having a problem with something, and we make the hole deeper.
100%.
We make it harder instead of
100%.
easier. You know,
Yeah.
another one is there are no stressful situations, only stressful responses, which if
Oh,
you think about it, that is absolutely the truth. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter how difficult the situation is, it's your response that's the issue.
yes.
Not the situation could cause you some pain, but it's your response to that pain that matters.
Yes, yes. So
So
these are things that are amazing, um, and I think a lot of this information you have given. Um, I believe that at one point you were an author. What did you do there?
I
How?
wrote two books. The first one is called "It's Not About the Coffee: Leadership Lessons from a Life at Starbucks." And I said life at Starbucks on purpose, not a job at Starbucks, because it was my life. And
Mm,
that's how I think you have to approach it. Even if you're working for somebody else, you're working for a company, you're all in.
yes, yes.
Got to be all in. And I was all in. So I wrote that book, and it's basically a book about servant leadership and about leadership. And then the second book is the Magic Cup. It was a fable about leadership, again about a guy that takes over a company and he's struggling because the company's struggling, and how he brings his team together and how his team helps him.
Yes, sir. So I got to read the second one, and now now I know about the first one. I'll get that one as well. But
I think that's the one that are most applicable to you.
yes,
It's
sir. So I would love for us to be able to do this again. You have given some amazing information, and I know that you're always moving and people have your time. But whenever you have some free time, we'd love to have you as Slick because I think that we as a culture need to really value the people like you who are espousing the way, in my opinion, provides value to the world in general. That if we help people and we do with nothing, no thoughts of having a return, just doing good for the sake of doing good, the world becomes better.
and you get those returns, amazingly enough.
Yeah.
So before I leave, I'd like to give your audience my cell phone number and my email address, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir. That's amazing.
Okay, so my cell phone number is 206-972-7776, and my email address is hb@howardbehar.com. And I may be slow to get back, but I'll always get back if somebody calls or leaves a text or a message.
And I just want everyone to know that that is not a fake number. That is Howard's direct number. The way that I found him 2 years ago was listening to him on Ed Milet's show, and he left his number. I think entrepreneurs, a lot of times, we just act. And it's a positive and it's a negative because we don't have the planning in front of it. But when he left that number, I was like, well, I'm going to call it. I didn't know what was going to happen, but he called me back. And he has definitely poured into me as a person that I believe it's going to help to impact a lot of lives going forward. And hopefully anyone that heard it now will reach out and have him impact your life as well.
All right, great.
Howard, thank you so very much. I truly appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, thanks very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day. All right. Bye-bye.